It's a story we hear of far too often. A high school teenager enjoying the best of life, sports, music, and hanging out with friends discovers suddenly that he's very sick. Kent Connects reporter Glenn Bullock says Jeremy George was 17 when he learned he had cancer and likely terminal.
Thanks, Jessica. But for Jeremy, he needed soldiers if there was any chance he'd survive. This is a story of love, hope, and family.
Your life completely changes in an instant. Your priorities change. You question everything. You're scared out of your mind. It's a fear like nothing you've ever experienced before.
I thought cancer, I thought death, and I thought Jeremy.
Didn't really know if he'd make it or not, but just always think positive.
Jeremy George's childhood was no different than any others. He played baseball, spent time with his friends, and often had his younger brother Ben by his side. His parents, Debbie and Don George, say he was a great kid, loving, playful, and full of life.
He was a quiet, good kid. Didn't get in trouble, never had a curfew. Could just count on him. And Benny looked to him almost like a hero. You know what I mean? Like it was his hero. He wanted to do everything that Jeremy was doing. He wanted to be everything his big brother was doing.
I loved him, to say the least. He was really my role model throughout all of my childhood. Being 6 years apart, it was difficult for me to do everything that he would do.
Jeremy was constantly taking care of Benny, and you didn't have to ask him. He just did it because he liked to be with him.
And at that moment, everything changed dramatically for the George family. It all started when Jeremy's parents thought he had the flu.
Well, we had the flu go through the house, and he had come down sick, and he was never sick even as an infant or as a child. He was seldom at the doctor.
Jeremy had blood work done, and they soon found out he was very ill.
And I would say within 30 minutes, the hospital had confirmed that it was leukemia.
How would Don and Debbie George face the reality that their oldest son is gravely ill? How do parents tell their youngest son that his hero brother is facing death?
It was not something good. And I had never seen my dad cry before, and he was crying all night long. So, I mean, that kind of made it worse.
Jeremy was healthy. He was healthy. He was wrestling 2 weeks before this. How could he possibly have cancer?
Jeremy's white blood cell count was extremely high, record-breaking in fact. It was the highest the hospital had ever seen. Jeremy's doctors said he should have been in a coma, but somehow, with his family, doctors and nurses by his side, he started treatment. And at first, things were going well.
It was 7 months and 2 days, and he was coming up on what they call maintenance chemo, so he had gotten through the hard part.
But the hard part was just beginning.
So that weekend, we started to notice things happening to him. His face began to paralyze, and so we thought he had stroked, and we rushed him back into the hospital.
He had a lesion on his brain, something no one expected. The cancer had spread to his central nervous system, and Jeremy was in trouble.
It like hit you like a rock, and you thought, wow, you know what I mean? I might lose him, and I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have said goodbye. But that was probably the hardest day.
That's when the doctors told the family that Jeremy's only option for survival would be a bone marrow transplant.
Getting the phone call that I was a perfect match was probably one of the most glorious moments in my life, and I'm sure the rest of my family's life.
And we were blessed because Benny, we had tested all of us earlier, and he had tested as a 6-6 match. So we kind of kept that in our pocket. We didn't want to use it, but now we had to.
Ben entered Rainbow Babies Hospital in Cleveland to try to save his older brother. Ben would have surgery for 2.5 hours on his hip as the source of the bone marrow. Just 2 days before Christmas in 2008, the Georges were spending the week in the hospital with local supporters, including quarterback Brady Quinn.
And so we had a Christmas. We had a ham. It was made in a toaster oven. We had Christmas lights strung on an IV pole. And we had a little 18-inch Christmas tree, So we had a true Christmas.
That would be the last time Jeremy would have Christmas in a hospital bed. The transplant worked.
I had the best brother I could possibly have. And I technically owe him for the rest of my life for what he did to me. And he's just awesome.
Against all odds and with the support of the community, Jeremy survived. While in recovery, he and his family thought about ways to pay it forward.
Why don't we do it, but why don't we go back to the hospital on December 23rd, the anniversary of his transplant, and deliver gifts to the families and the patients that are there?
And so the Jeremy Cares Foundation was born. The George family raised $11,000 from a golf outing, which they used for their first annual toy drive at the Cleveland Rainbow Babies Hospital. Each Christmas, a list with the specifics of what each patient family wanted would be shot for by the George's new charity.
We don't want to drop off teddy bears. We don't want to just drop off, 100 iPods or, 100 teddy bears. We want to make this special. We walked on the floor a year later, Jeremy as a guest, not a patient, and did our best to help those families look back and remember something good instead of, honestly, the cold hard reality that is pediatric cancer.
Megan Kuhlenschmidt, whose daughter Molly was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 2, felt support from the Jeremy Cares Foundation.
It's amazing. I mean, when you go through this, it's weird. Like, it's bad, but it's good because you meet all these people and you really get this different sense of wanting to give back and do things. And for other patients to see someone who's doing so well is amazing.
It's pretty amazing to think of where I was 4 years ago and where I am now. It's hard to believe that that's where I was, that long ago, or not that long ago, but if it kind of was a long time ago. But I was, in the hospital in a bed and I was barely awake, I was barely alive, and now I'm here, college student, dean's list. It's excelling and just having the greatest time of my life.
Jeremy George is still inspiring people today. He continues to help cancer patients through the work of his foundation. And Jess, the story doesn't end there. It actually continues right here at Kent State, where Jeremy George is a student and is an active member of the video production staff of our student media cable channel, TV2 KSU.
That's right, Glenn. Jeremy is a junior studying sports production at KSU, and today he is running Camera One on this program. So I'd like to go ahead and ask Jeremy to leave his camera and come join us on set. Jeremy is really one of our classmates. He works TV2, he does graphics, a lot of different things. So he really is one of us. So thank you, Jeremy, for letting us tell your story today.
Thank you.
Jeremy, you've helped so many people with your foundation. Tell me how it affected you and tell me more about it.
We just always wanted to pay it back. We got great support, so we always wanted, give that support back to other people, that may not have it. And, that's where Jeremy Cares started, and we love it, and it's getting bigger and bigger as the year goes on.
And what are some events that you guys plan?
We have our annual golf outing, which is our biggest fundraiser. It's going to be the 6th one we've had. It's going to be in Avon, Ohio, Bobolink Golf Course. 7 o'clock check-in, 8 o'clock shotgun start. Your lunch and steak dinner are all provided.
Oh, wow.
Beverages, beer, door prizes, contests, and we invite all skill levels.
Awesome. And where can we find more about that?
You can go to jeremycares.org.
All right.
All right, well, thank you, Jeremy, and thank you, Glenn.